Welcome, everybody. It's been such a long time, and we are back to Anime Talks. And today's episode, we're going to be following close to a medieval, like fantasy era of a really good anime, and it is called Frieren's. It is called Frieren Beyond Journey's End. I'm so sorry. It's one of those animes that it really captivates you and puts you like on a whole different like level of understanding of life and other things. Like I'd have to say that this is just one of those one-off animes. Like I've been doing a bunch of different reviews on other animes, like let's say along the lines of like Classroom of the Elite, Bleach. There's stuff with like a lot of action. This does have action, but it follows a different tale. And in this, it's more like a little slower. And the genre that it sits under is adventure drama fantasy, which it does very well, but it does it in a way that it's just different. Like it's like a different part of anime that I normally don't get to. So with that being said, let's dive straight in and get right into it. So within Frieren Beyond Journey's End, we of course follow Frieren, which is an elven mage, and she is accompanied by Himmel, Hyder, and Eisen, and they are the party that goes on this long journey to take out the Demon King. And honestly, it almost goes towards your standard like RPG-esque type of anime. If you've seen stuff like Is It Wrong to Try to Pick Up a Girl in a Dungeon or Sword Art Online, it follows just not necessarily the same plot, but almost like that same feel. Like it just has so many properties of the same mechanics and stuff put together. But I have to say in this one, we dive a little deeper in with just something that makes you just feel different. And with that being said, Frieren, being an elf, lives for a long time. She's lived many centuries. And what is interesting about her, she finds herself being asked by the hero or the warrior Himmel to accompany her on a 10-year quest to defeat the Demon King. And it was quite interesting on how that came about, because she didn't see herself as to be a very important or whatnot. She really spent most of her time wandering the land and just going about to try to, live life and try to understand things. And of course, like as the story goes on, we learn so much more about her and her stance on life and other things. But to dig a little further on Frieren herself, she is not only an elven mage, but her predecessor was actually a human mage who was very, very, very strong. And the human mage's predecessor is another elven mage. It is like quite crazy on how everything is like done with the show. So with Frieren being just moseying on about, she was accompanied by her three party members as they traveled around to take care of bringing harmony to, I guess we could say, like, I don't even want to be wrong while quoting this, but she is going across to be able to bring harmony to the world and defeat the Demon King. But what she manages to do during the show, and this is, we'll call this a mini arc, because technically it's just a one season hit of 28 episodes, and it's really, really, really good, by the way. I'd have to say, we see that she's really detached from her party members. She's just like, she just exists. Like, they do a lot of things, but there's like other portions of it. Like, let's say Himmel's like the like the famous handsome warrior, and then we have the little dwarf warrior Eisen, and then we have the priest Hyder. So Hyder's like a very drunken, corrupted priest, which the corrupt priest is not really as corrupt. He just likes to gamble and drink. But, you know, as far as the literal sense of his job and his duties, that's considered corrupt. So we also have the Eisen, who's he's pretty quiet for the most part, but he's very like wise and stoic, very very like, he gives off that similar like Gimli from Lord of the Rings feeling. Like, he's just very stoic and just so stern, and his demeanor is just so, you know, it's just one of those things that you'd have to watch to understand. And then we have, of course, back to returning to Himmel. Himmel is just one of those, he's like that extrovert that just captivates people and bring people in, and his whole get up that supports his portion and where he stands. He's just so giving, and he does whatever it takes, and he makes some kind of interesting remarks to make it seem as if he isn't doing it for he's not doing it out the kindness of his heart, and you know, he cares about fame, but really Himmel is just like a good soul, and just likes to make things happen for people and to bring happiness to people, because he has expressed it many times within the show that you only have once to bring a great impression across somebody's life, and that's as a human, of course, because he makes it known to Frieren that you have to really take it step by step with everybody, and cherish and embrace everyone you meet, and treat them fairly, and make sure that there's no sad goodbyes. Which I'm telling you, it's like one of those like touching stories that just make you really, really appreciate life and a lot of other things. But to get back to where we were post the defeat of the Demon King, there was a piece of equipment left with Himmel that Frieren said that she would return back for. So about 50-ish or so years later, we end up running into the death of Himmel, and that was kind of where the real journey and the real story in the anime begins. When we get to see the funeral of Himmel, we get to see a bunch of flashbacks and a lot of different cheeky things that happen along their journey to take out the Demon King. But what stood out the most is that Frieren didn't really feel compelled by the death. Like, it happened, and she just was like not necessarily emotionless. It's just she didn't understand, the value of a human life, almost, and value meaning the length of it, not necessarily the value, because she did value her party members. It is just she didn't understand why humans were so much in a rush to get things done, as compared to her, who has a lifetime to get back and take care of anything that comes about. And it's one of those kind of stories there that just makes you, really dig a little deeper into the meaning of life. And once the three remaining party members have, parted ways, we have Hyder, who also has almost basically became, I want to say, like the deacon or bishop of the area. He's like the head priest, and he returns back to his humble abode. And Eisen does the same. And then Frieren begins her journey to just stroll across. And there's small things about Frieren that is mentioned, like she likes to collect not incantations, but tomes, grimoires, where she can learn more spells and more things to be able to add to her kit. And while she's on this hunt, she makes a couple passes and she comes across her old party member, Hyder, again, a little bit later down the line from the funeral of Himmel. And when she meets Hyder, Hyder is in custody of this young orphaned child named Fern. And he, Hyder is so strict on this child that he almost acts as if that's his daughter, granddaughter esque type of thing, and takes her in and tries to teach her as much as he can because he knows that his days are numbered and that he's nearing his end as a human. And when Frieren makes her visit to him, he ends up requesting for Fern to be taken under Frieren as an apprentice. And Frieren was most definitely skeptical at first. And then over time, of course, like the story kind of gives that part away, that time goes by and Fern ends up becoming an apprentice with really, 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 really good potential that Frieren was able to notice and want to build upon and help her grow. And they, as not Himmel, as Hyder had ended up passing away in the show, we end up seeing Fern leaving with Frieren to go journey off to become a great mage. And it was really, really, really like just one of those heartbreaking moments where you kind of like still grasping the lifespan of a human in the eyes of Frieren, and her trying to understand people's attachments to other people emotionally and spiritually, as everything is like kind of just, it's just one of those things. We end up also seeing along the way, they end up meeting back up with the dwarven warrior Eisen again. And Eisen makes a statement to Frieren that he has an apprentice that he's taken under his wing that has moseyed on and like went away to go do his own thing, and that she needs to be able to find him. Well, lo and behold, the story then unravels to where we do meet the apprentice of Eisen, which is Stark. And Stark is a young warrior who ends up learning a lot of things from Eisen and looks at Eisen as one of his like father figures. And along the way, you can kind of guess that by the way the story's handled, it's like a lot of time skips, a lot of time jumps. We see a lot of birthdays and different events happen. And for the most part, what keeps the story at its peak is the fact that Frieren on this, it's like she almost gets a second chance at life. And she's lived for multiple centuries at this point. But it's at this moment that she understands that she didn't spend the time she was supposed to with her party members, and she didn't get to learn them or get to learn how to love them and respect them a little further than just like helping them in combat. She ends up learning how to almost be a family with these young potential apprentice that have grown so much over the course of the show that they take down the likes of plenty of things. They've taken out a couple demons, and also Fern ends up becoming a first class mage, which was pretty awesome as well. And it's crazy on how the story doesn't necessarily end. Of course, this is only season 1, and we are met with a very, very interesting cliffhanger in the last episode. And that is just me saying that. I hate to like say that and like they don't renew it, but we are met with a very, very healthy set of just a healthy set of how things like panned out. But to get back to a little bit of the backstory of a few people. So like Frieren, um, she also she was taken under by the great wizard Flamma, and then under Flamma, Flamma was taught by I can't remember um by Sede. So Sede was Flamma's instructor, and then Flamma took over as Frieren's instructor. So Frieren and Sede actually do not like each other at all because only because Frieren actually sees the way humans think versus Sede, who is like completely just bleh, just bleh, just a lot of different things is happening within that. And they've met plenty of people along the way, and I would hate to dig into it. And it's just one of those you got to watch it. There's like not too many heavily notable characters other than the hero party, which is of course Frieren, Himmel, Hyder, and Eisen, and of course Frieren's new party, which would be her, Fern, and Stark. And of course they did have somewhat of a I guess a healer monk type of like kind of like a hider. They had their version of a hider, and he actually parted ways to go try to find his long lost friend slash brother. And that was kind of how that went. It's pretty interesting how all that plays out. And of course along the way, as I said, that they took out demons, greater demons, and ran into actually a couple like human encounters along the way of them trying to get their first class mage license. So I'd have to say, if you are looking for an anime that's not so much on the crazier side of life, this is it. This is definitely it. I enjoyed it. It's something that I've also watched with my kid, and I cannot express how much it was so healthy to watch such a good show like this, because it makes you understand and appreciate human life or just life in general, and that you don't know what's going to happen next. So why not get to learn your companions to the fullest extent as you can, because you just don't know if the last time you said goodbye was actually it. So always leave a good impression and make sure you give everybody as much of a chance of the opportunity to make happy or to bring peace or some type of a positive influence to someone's life. And that's kind of what this story all entails, is to really just be mindful of others and get to know people fully, to be able to share and embrace one another's differences, their weaknesses and strengths, all that. It's good. I can't just like keep rambling on about like how good it is. But it's good in a different way. This is not like your Demon Slayer or your Fate or your Erase, your Psychopaths, your Death Note. It's not one of those kind of animes, and it's not considered like a slice of life. It's different, and it's really worth watching. So please, if you end up having time to watch Frieren, I definitely would recommend you watch this alongside another anime. I don't really recommend watching this as your standalone anime, because with it being like not necessarily slow, it's just like a different kind of pacing, that it's like one of those like you're watching like kind of like Fresh Prince of Bel Air kind of thing. It's just like you watch it when you watch it. You don't like watch it to binge it, because if you binge it, it's good, but just the plot's just really, really, really like like it's just about like harmony. It's just slow, a very slow plot, and you almost have to just like appreciate the art style and appreciate the story to watch it further. Is one of those things. So thank y'all for giving a good time to come listen to check this out. It's been so long since we had our last episode, and this I actually cleared this like about a few weeks, almost a month ago, and it's just been needing to be released and come out, and hopefully there's more animes that I can cover here soon. I'm currently in the middle of watching Hunter x Hunter. I'm not that far, and I can't do a review. I'm not going to do a season review on that because of how old it is, and there's just so much to talk about, and there's so much that happened already in the show that like I'm like ecstatic about it and can't wait to get closer to the end point. I just didn't even realize that Hunter x Hunter had so many seasons. I have so much to watch, but y'all take it easy. Y'all stay safe. Watch as much anime as possible and leave a review or leave some type of feedback on this episode and previous ones to let me know on how production can be better. What do I need to watch? Anything so I can be able to bring more content to you. And once again, stay safe. Bye.